Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for Haskell Day. We are recording on Friday, July 17th for this exciting Saturday racing. Good stuff going on all over, but my attention largely, in addition to taking a little peek out west, has been focused on what's going on the Jersey Shore. We're hoping to get lucky with this weather. We're going to talk about these races as if the weather is not a factor. I will throw in one off the turf horse somewhere alongside in the sequence, but really excited to see what happens, not just in the Haskell itself, but in all these races. We're going to look at the late pick five on the show. Joining me, a man coming to you from upstate New York at the moment, Jonathon Kinchen. What's up, JK?
PTF, what's going on? Yep, we're knee deep in it, and it should be a good weekend. We're actually going to do. I don't know when this is going to come out. We're doing Del Mar on the show tonight, opening night. So actually work from 6:30 to 9:30. We're going to show Del Mar and yeah, should be fun.
Something a little bit different there. If you are an early bird getting to the show, we'll remind folks that we have our contest, our ITM Horse Players Tour contest on the last 8 at Del Mar tonight. Go to horseplayers.com, play in that. You get an extra opportunity. Finish in the first 4 of this feeder tonight. You go in our separate contest for a $10,000 BCBC seat at no extra cost. And speaking of contests, Monmouth have a good one coming up for you tomorrow. The Haskell betting challenge is back, and in effect, Monmouth just continuing their reputation as one of the leaders when it comes to contest play. If you go to monmouthpark.com, you can take a look at all the details surrounding the Haskell betting challenge. Depending on what ADW you're playing on, it could be tricky to get in at this late stage, but there are opportunities to get involved. You can get involved in person as well. Go to monmouthpark.com and get all the information on the Haskell betting challenge. Maybe we'll tell you a little bit more about that contest later. Naira Bets Haskell Day, I guess we could call it too, JK, to be nice to your employer. And our latest partner is going to be covering some of those Naira Bets contests as the summer goes on as well. But let's dive right into the handicapping, I think, my friend. It starts off for us with a listed stake. We've got the Regret going as race number 10, 6 furlong affair on the dirt with 100,000 in the pot. And it's an interesting one because you've got 2 runners from the same barn with by far the best figures coming in off of long layoffs. Number 9, Kilwin, has those 2 huge races from last summer, including the test, where folks will remember she kind of blew the start and then came running late. I think it's very safe to ignore the turf experiment from Kentucky Downs late last season. She's got finished. There looks like there's plenty of pace in here. She makes all the sense in the world. Then you got her stablemate, the 5, Echo Sound, ran that wildly fast race in the Victory Ride last year, and you look down at her past performance cut, and that one stands out like a sore thumb. I think it's about 15 points higher on Bayer than anything else she ever ran. So, again, both coming in off long layoffs. Is it as simple as which Rusty Arnold do you pick here, JK, or do you want to maybe say off this long layoff, maybe we could oppose them with a theoretically slower horse?
Well, I mean, I think for me, it's I only need 2 horses. It's those 2. But I think that there's an argument to be made that from a equity standpoint, just pick one of them to really kind of to add something. To me, the one you would want to do if you're going to do that would be Echo Sound, right? Kilwin's the grade 1 winner winning the test. Echo Sound has that really fast number. She obviously tailed off. And when a horse starts to tail off and then they take a break, that's evidence that there was a tailing off and that a break was needed. She got a break. She comes back now. She's a little bit more tactical. I think she'll appreciate the distance a little bit more. Someone's cutting down a tree over there, but we're going to be all right. Echo Sound would be the one that I would kind of single if I was going to want to single them. Depending on the rest of your opinions of the sequence, I would use the 2 of them.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I will bring in one other to the party, and that is number 4, Ms. Bucero. I still am saying that wrong after all these years. And the thing with this one, I just think you got 2 clear excuses for the last 2 runs, one being the surface, one being the bad start. The back races are not far off, and you get one who's competed recently. I mean, Rusty Arnold is a trainer who I could see using this as a stepping stone. In a perfect world, I would love to have both of those on my tickets, and I actually listed it 9-5-4, but I do think the Forerunner deserves a little bit of credit in here in a spot where I think the whole market is going to go to those two, and maybe just maybe you can sneak in one at what I hope will be at least the 4-1 of the morning line, maybe a little longer into the teeth of those two. Let's move on to the graded stakes action, which continues with the Grade 2 United Nations. Monmouth's 11th race. We're going a mile and 3/8 on the green. Historically significant race. Some interesting questions to answer here in terms of some horses trying new distances, etc. Who's your idea of the winner of the UN, my friend?
Yeah, I mean, the UN for me is one of those races where I think that the prep leading into it always matters. I think that it makes a difference. But I've always been a fan of Just a Touch. I thought Just a Touch's last race at Delaware was outstanding. And I'm gonna. This is a personal pick, hitching my wagon to our friends at Qatar Racing, but also a horse that's got speed. I love a speed horse that can finish on the grass. I just think he's the best animal in here, and I think that he's found a new home on the turf. Just a Touch for me. I'd be ice cold. I'd imagine Program Trading will take some money in here, but I don't love him. I think he'd probably get sucked along, probably loses his kick chasing around a horse like Just a Touch.
Interesting. I was going to ask you specifically if the distance was your concern for Program Trading. I just think, you got a 3-time Grade 1 winner here. And while Just a Touch absolutely fits on figures, he will be tested for class. In an ideal world, I'd love to have both of them on tickets. I did pick Program Trading as the top one. The other one I want to throw in is an improving runner who I think could be decent odds. It was only 9-2 on the morning line, and that would probably be just the price. But I could see Uncle's Gold, the 6, maybe going off a little bit longer than that. This is a horse that's won 4 of the last 5, 3-race win streak, and just looks sharp. The pedigree doesn't scream that the distance is going to be okay, but this is where I trust Michael Trombetta, who's been a pet trainer of mine for many, many years. I thought Uncle's Gold had a chance to get in the mix. I picked it officially 4, 6, 7, and I really like the idea of being able to have all of them on tickets. We'll see how it plays out in the United Nations as we move on to the race that gives the day its name. We've got the Haskell, and we've got 5 horses in here that are pretty easy to make cases for under various scenarios. Get a little bit of a Preakness rematch. We also get the Puma finally making his return to the races. That's certainly exciting. But I think the markets early on in the UK anyway are all centering around the horse that I picked. That's number 2, Further Ado. And I guess the question with Further Ado, the way he's being bet, it feels like the market is saying that the Matt win was faster than the Beyer team has it. Timeform US had it faster than the Beyer team had it. And it, to me, did give the visual impression of being closer to the faster number than the slower number, if that makes any sense. I went with Further Ado in this spot. I think he is the one who has shown brilliance going farther than a mile in this 3-year-old crop. And I think he looks poised to run a really, really big race. So it's not creative. I went with Further Ado. But who's your idea, the winner of the Haskell?
Yeah, I mean, really my thing is who's not the winner. I think I'm probably a little bit biased. I just don't like Napoleon Solo. Look, I know he won the Champagne, he won the Preakness, like he's a 2-time Grade 1 winner. I just don't think the Preakness was that fast. I think it was a Preakness light. Let's not forget how many horses entered in that race. It was wide open because Golden Tempo didn't run. I just think that he's going to take money that he doesn't necessarily have to take, and he's got to beat 2 horses. I like the Puma a little bit going into the Derby. One of my favorite things about the Haskell and the Travers is kind of the reset button for some of these 3-year-olds. The Puma got to hit it. He had a nice, remember, I think one of the things people thought about him was like that run of January, February, March. He has enough foundation, I think, that when you have a horse that gets sidelined for a second, when they have that foundation, it's much easier to bring them back. It's not like he's coming in off this long break, taking this big step. I think the Puma is extremely live. But I also think, I liked Further Ado in the Derby. He comes back and runs a big race. How the hell am I not going to like him here going a mile and 1/8 in a distance I know he's probably going to like more than the 1.25 miles that I picked him in the hardest race to win in the world? I think that if I could be alive to those 2 horses and hope that the equity of not spending a penny on Napoleon Solo helps, that's where I would be. I mean, it's a straightforward sequence. But it often can be like that on big days with big races.
So for the official notes I sent around to In the Money Plus, I should mention In the Money Plus, we've got Adam DiCepolo coming online with his Del Mar diary, in addition to Nick Tamaro's Saratoga diary. So lots of good stuff on there. But we also do send around digests of picks to all the shows in themoneypodcast.com/plus if you want to get involved in that. Should I put it 2-4 or 4-2, or is it a no top pick situation?
I don't think it's, I mean, look, I'm going to have to probably pick. I'm going to pick the horse that there's a lot less guessing with, which would be Further Ado, but he's going to be a shorter price. So you're going to get paid a little bit to guess with the Puma. So really it's just a little bit of whatever. The price is going to be right for both of the horses, right? Further Ado's chances, in my opinion, are going to reflect the price. The Puma's chances are, in my opinion, are going to reflect the price. So I just think it's whatever one you choose. I'll pick Further Ado, but if someone told me, hey, it's one of those situations, if this is inside baseball TV, if I'm, this is the type of situation where if I was on set and everyone else was picking Further Ado, I would pick the Puma.
Right.
Not because I'm just because I don't care. One of the two is going to win, in my opinion, and I can't really separate them.
So let's talk about the Florida Derby for a minute. Remember, that figure came back at 100. That was an instance of a figure that I thought looked high based on the fact that it was, 3 on the wire in there. And then you look at the subsequent efforts. It's not like it's disgraceful form. The Commandment did run second in the Belmont subsequently, but Wallaby, I think we have to call a disappointment since that run. And yeah, the Commandment, obviously, why do I keep calling him the Commandment? Like the 10 Commandments, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, I don't think it's great form. I don't think it's terrible form. But if you take that 100 literally, it becomes a lot easier to see the case on the Puma, especially considering he was a talking horse for the Kentucky Derby before getting that infection and having to scratch. So yeah, I'm with you. I'd have him as a backup. And I don't have any personal animus towards Napoleon Solo and the connections. But when I look at that race, I see his track that was deeply speed biased, according to both my eyes and the Racing Flow numbers. And despite having an incredibly favorable situation, does not crack the 100 mark on the buyer scale or the equivalent on Timeform US. I think Napoleon Solo is the type of horse you're supposed to bet against, as the saying goes. I guess the fear would be there's no other obvious speed to go with him. And this isn't your father's Monmouth where we're expecting it to be tilted to speed. I think it'll be a fair track on Saturday, but I guess that's the lingering thing. I'm going to leave him off, I think, Napoleon Solo, just because, you're supposed to bet against horses that took advantage of situations like he did in the Preakness, but who's going to run with him, or do you think he'll just stop?
I'm sure somebody will go, but it's not as if those other two won't be breathing down his neck. You know what I mean? Maybe not so much the Puma. Yeah, but Further Ado is not going to let him go. Irad's going to pop away from there, get his position moving forward. He'll be down on the inside in the pocket, and he'll either sit in behind Napoleon Solo, or he'll tip out and sit outside of him.
Right. You see a perfect trip for Further Ado, and I think that's probably
right. I don't see how he gets a bad trip just because he's drawn well and he's tactical.
Iron Honor head-to-head, not that we get to bet on this type of thing, but if in a theoretical world where you did, Iron Honor, I think would be very, very logical to try to reverse the form with Napoleon Solo. As disappointed as I was that he didn't go by, based on the way that track was playing, I just don't think he really had a fair shake. I think he's probably a little bit better than that. I don't think he's going to beat the two that we're talking about, or certainly not the top one that we're talking about. But, it's not some crazy idea to think Iron Honor could run second in here, is it?
I'm just not sure what kind of class this horse is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Look, he ran well enough. I thought he had dead aim last time, and he didn't get there. I'm not sure he wants to really run this far either.
Yeah, that's fair. It'd be interesting to see what happens with him after this, depending on how he runs. But I think it was one of those things where it looked really bad at the time. It looked like an epic hang job. But I think when I watched that tape back, thinking very specifically about how the track was playing, I don't think his Preakness was as bad as it looked. But this is a very different assignment. Let's move on from the Grade 1 to the last two races that close out this card. Be connected by a double, of course. They've got the $5 late double now at Monmouth, this trend that we love with the higher minimums and the lower takeouts. We've got an allowance race. We're going a mile on the turf. And this is a spot where number 7, Double Neat, that's not just my favorite order at a whiskey bar, JK, also my selection for this race. I think this horse is going to find himself in just a perfect attacking spot behind the speed. And while he hasn't won in the last 5 races, this is a horse who typically puts in a good effort, and I think has been a little bit unlucky. Some of these fields were stronger than what he's facing today. A couple of times I thought he made early moves. I think double neat could be seen to much better effect. If this race comes off the turf, and I suppose there's some chance that it will, the 3-runner Lucas's Mischief looks to me like the likely best speed in that scenario. That's what I'd want in off the turf situations. But the 7 double neat is my selection here. Who's your idea of the winner?
Yeah, I mean, I'll use double neat. I like the 4 Spanish Noble. I thought his last 3 races, really all kind of that are long on the turf kind of feel the same. The 6 Mongolian Apple is one that I want to use. I thought his last race at Laurel was pretty good. Actually, it might even be one of the best races that these horses have run in their most recent race. So I think 4-7-6 would make me feel warm and fuzzy to get alive in here. I think one mistake, I had this conversation with someone the other night. I think one mistake is like when you get an opportunity or a sequence that allows you to go skinny in a couple of legs, people have I think the temptation is there to then spread. But like, I think that's stupid. Like, I think that you're basically giving back the equity you built on being able to be skinny early by then spreading like crazy and hoping something crazy happens. It's almost better, in my opinion, to tighten the screws even a little bit more in those other 2 legs and try to hit a direct shot, like a direct hit. So I'll only use 3 in here.
You can have your cake and eat it too in that situation too, potentially, JK, I would say, with maybe a, spread around in those legs for a minimum, but come back and then take your strongest opinions and make sure you at least get those for multiples of whatever the minimum denomination is. So many ways to crack the nut when it comes to wagering strategy. Let's move to the nightcap, the anchor of all of the late picks on Saturday. We've got an allowance race going 6 furlongs for 3 and up. And this is a race where Dragonite certainly looks interesting based on the speed in that first start and potentially loose according to the time form pace projector. That race was ages ago. Bringing back on a big day like this signals intent to me. I definitely want some 7s on my ticket. And the other one I was interested in the last was the 5-runner Guapo again. Maybe a touch against the flow in that last start. I like the idea of a Kelly Breen first off the claim on a big day at Monmouth as well. I was going to try to close the door and turn off the lights with the 7 and 5, but I'll ask you the key question. How are we going to get paid?
Yeah, all I need is 1 here, Dragonite. I think he's got a pace edge in this race. I think that he's loose if he wants to be. You got an aggressive rider in Flavian Pratt. You got a horse that ran figures last year as a 3-year-old that put him right here in the mix. I think he's going to be very tough to beat. So, like I said, direct hit for me in this Haskell pick 5. Assuming the pick 5 ends here, right? Sometimes they do it where it ends in the path. Okay, yeah. Ice cold for me. All I need is Dragonite. Huge edge from a figure standpoint, and feels like one that has a huge pace edge as well.
Go to monmouthpark.com. Look for information about the Haskell betting challenge. There's also terrific info if you want to try to be there in person on Haskell Day. Hopefully the weather's going to move through without disrupting things, and it's going to be fantastic out there, and lots of other fun opportunities throughout the season to enjoy Monmouth Park. monmouthpark.com, the place to go to find out all the information. Peter Thomas, Fornatale, and Jonathon Kinchen for our friends at Monmouth Park. Thanks to everybody out there for watching this video. Drop us in the comments who your pick is in the Haskell. It'll be fun to get a little conversation going on in there. And make sure you subscribe to the In the Money Media channel while you're over there. And subscribe on the podcast side, wherever you get your podcasts, In the Money Players Podcast. That's it for this show. We will be back with more racing content soon. May you win all your Haskell Day photos.